Hey guys, welcome back to Builds by Maz. Today I'll be showing you how we transformed our mudroom area from this into this. When we first bought the home, this mudroom was really disorganized with a bunch of junk everywhere, but I'll show you the full process for how we renovated it and turned it into this inviting space. Let's get started. The first thing I needed to do was pull out this railing so I could remove the carpet and put in new flooring. This is actually a really cool custom railing, but sadly we didn't keep it because we ended up extending this space and needed to build a new railing to match that area. And I'll have videos on that process sometime in the future. With the railing out of the way, I could start pulling up this old carpet. Annoyingly, it was all glued down, which made this process significantly harder. I had to use a crowbar and pliers to help pry and pull all this carpet up. Finally, I got it rolled up and out of the house. I then came back with a floor scraper and tried to remove as much of this dried on glue as possible. That way I would have a smooth surface for installing the new flooring. There were also a couple of divots in the subfloor which needed to be filled in. I used this pre-made patch and level kit to smooth out the area. It's pretty easy to apply. I just filled in the divots and then used a large trowel to smooth everything out, making the whole subfloor flush. One major issue was that the back corner of this mudroom had a bunch of mold. Instead of trying to just clean it away, I completely scraped off the surface of the subfloor and the drywall, completely removing any of the mold. We then treated it with a heavy-duty mold remover just to be safe. Once that was dry, I needed to patch up this area of subfloor that I removed, and I used the same leveling kit. Lastly, we painted over it with a mold blocking primer. With that taken care of, I painted over this green trim. This actually used to be the outside of the house, and the mudroom was added on, but that's why this wall has some exterior features like a window. We decided to turn this back wall into a kind of accent wall, and I'm painting it with Urbane Bronze from Sherwin-Williams. It's a dark gray color that's going to really contrast with the rest of the mudroom. You can see that after the first coat, it still looks pretty streaky, so I added the second coat, and that made for a really nice finish. For my flooring, I'm using LVP from Floret. I've used this stuff extensively throughout my home, and I've been really happy with it. It installs quickly and easily with a tongue and groove system, and it's 100% waterproof, which makes this a great option for a mudroom, since we'll be tracking in snow, water, and mud, and there's no need to worry about the flooring getting damaged. Plus, it's really easy to clean. Another great thing about this flooring is when you need to cut a piece this size, you can just score it with a razor blade and it easily snaps along the score line. This makes installation mess-free and you don't need any special tools. If you do want more details on how to install LVP, you can search my channel where I have a few videos showing full tutorials. With proper installation, the seams basically disappear, making the whole surface watertight. Now, since this is leading to a stairway, I needed to use a piece of round nosing. This is also from Floret and perfectly matches the existing LVP. It just slides on to the edge of the landing like this. Now, this is not the same as a stair tread, which is what I used for the rest of the staircase. You can see it's much thicker than your standard flooring, which is why you need to use the round nose instead. I just needed to measure and cut off the edge of the nosing to size, so it fit perfectly on the first step. When installing this last row of flooring, I couldn't quite fit a full piece here, so I needed to rip off the very edge of this. And the same with the stair nosing, I needed to remove the tongue and groove system. I trimmed them off with my table saw, and then everything fit properly. To attach the stair nosing, I'm going to use this Loctite Premium Construction Adhesive. I first added some underneath the last row of flooring, and then applied a generous amount underneath the stair nosing. I set the nosing in place, sliding it back and forth slightly to help the adhesive spread out and create a strong bond. I added a few weights on top, and then let it sit for a full 24 hours. In the meantime, I finished laying the flooring for the rest of the mudroom. I did stop right here for now though, because we'll be extending this space and turning it into a loft, but that's for another video. That construction adhesive is extremely strong, so once I removed the weights, this piece was locked in place. With the LVP installed, I added some baseboards around the perimeter of the mudroom. Originally, there were no baseboards, but I think this is an important part of any space to make it feel finished. The baseboards will also hide all the LVP expansion gaps, which are needed around the room. It's also important to add a bead of caulk around the top edge of all the baseboards to give them a completed look. The next task was to update these old light fixtures. Besides being really dated, you can tell that this is meant to be an outdoor light fixture. So I removed it, added a new mounting plate, and then installed a more modern wall sconce. The wiring was pretty simple here, and this just took me a couple of minutes. But this small update really made a big difference. I then turned the circuit's power back on and double checked that it worked properly. On the other side of the room, there were these old wall spotlights, so I took it down and replaced it with those same wall sconces. Here you can really see just how much of a difference changing out your lighting can make. While I was at this, I also updated these light switches. You can see the color difference between the old one and this new white one that I got. This was just a small detail, but I didn't want to have mismatched light switches. It just took a couple of minutes for the update, and it was well worth it. The final piece of this mudroom transformation was to install a new hall tree that we bought. This helped us organize the area and made it a really functional space where we can store coats and shoes. All that was left was to do some decorating, and this mudroom transformation was complete, and now it's a functional and enjoyable area of our home. The Floret LVP was the star of this renovation, and it really ties this whole mudroom together. Here was our original view coming up the stairs, but after this transformation, here's how that view looks now. It really is such an improvement, and the round nosing area turned out great. And if you want to see how I built this new railing, or added this loft area, be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss those videos. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.